Alright. Hi, everyone. I'm Max. This is your chapter of this book, Dealing with Dragons. It's chapter 12. This book is wild. It's called In Which Sirian Calls on a Dragon and the Stone Prince Discovers the Plot. I just had a really funny thought, like nothing had happened for 50 bazillion pages, and he's like, I found the plot. It's right here. That's not what that means. Okay. This isn't Twilight. I can't believe I just said that. The shortcut to Roxim's worked just as well as Simrine had hoped, and she even made up some of the time she'd lost earlier. Roxime was in too. She could hear the scraping of his scales as he moved around inside. She stepped up to the entrance of the cave and called, Dragon Roxime! Something round and shiny flew through the air, missing Simrine by inches. Excuse me. It hit the wall of the tunnel with a loud clang and slid rattling to the floor. Simrine jumped. Roxime! She shouted at the top of her lungs. What's this? The dragon said, poking his nose out of the cave entrance. I'm Simrine, Princess of the Dragons Kazul, and I offer you greetings and good fortune in all your endeavors. Simrine thought it was best to be particularly polite, in case Roxime were in a bad mood. She suspected he might be. In her experience, someone in a good mood did not throw things at visitors. Very good, Roxime said. Nice to see you again and all that, but I haven't got time for visitors at the moment, so sorry. I'm not a visitor, exactly. Kazul sent me with a message for you. Oh, well that's different. Just hand me that shield there, would you? He threw a shield at her. Simrine picked up the shield from the floor of the tunnel. There was a large dent in one side where it had hit the tunnel wall, and several smaller ones over the rest of it from banging against things on its way to the tunnel floor. You ought to be more careful, she said severely. Just look at this. Ha! Roxime snorted, examining the dents. Shoddy work, that's the problem. In my day, you could roll a knight in full armor down the far side of the Vanishing Mountain and bounce him off... What? And bounce him off 2 or 3 cliffs without so much as scratching the surface, much less denting it. This cheap modern stuff just doesn't hold up. I imagine the knight died, though. If you know it doesn't hold up, you shouldn't throw it around like that, Simrine said. You almost hit me. Roxime shifted uncomfortably. Sorry, didn't mean anything by it. All right, but next time look before you throw things, Simrine said, handing him the shield. She just lectured a dragon. I always have this problem when I try to find something, Roxime confided. Never know where to look. It gets frustrating. Next thing you know, I'm pitching armor at the walls. Bad habit, but hard to break. Well, maybe I could help, Simrine suggested. Well, after I give you Kazul's message, that is. Don't need help to put dents in things, Roxime said. That's not what she meant. Come to that, I don't really want it. I didn't mean help to throw things, Simrine said patiently. I meant help to find whatever you're looking for. Oh, that. Well, come in then. Simrine followed the dragon into a moderately large cave, similar to one Kazul used as a living area. Roxime's cave, however, was full of clutter. Simrine had to pick her way past bits of armor, one half of a pair of bookends, a box of tea, a pink scroll, 3 mismatched kitchen pots, a small wooden statue, a broken flute, and 4 partially burned candles. Oh my god. Roxime walked straight over the mess as if it weren't there, squashing a mangy-looking stuffed pigeon and flattening a tin cup in passing. He dropped the shield on a pile of silk flowers and waved Simrine to a seat on a large wooden chest near one wall. Now, what's this message of Kazul's? It's about the wizards, Simrine said, settling gingerly into the dusty surface of the chest. She made a mental note to find Roxime a nice princess as soon as she possibly could. Eleanor and I found one of them picking dragon's bane a few days ago, and Kazul thinks King Takaz will listen to you if you tell him about it. So that's where they got it, Roxime said in tones of disgust. Pity you didn't mention it sooner. Why did you say that? Simrine got a sinking feeling. What do you mean? Oh my god. Somebody poisoned King Takaz this morning, Roxime explained. Slipped some dragon's bane in his coffee. Fast acting, nothing to be done. Now we need a new king. Back up. Dragons drink coffee. I love dragons, because coffee is delicious. Not poison coffee. That's awful, Simrine said. Do you know who did it? Those dratted wizards, that's who, Roxime said angrily. It's obvious. Stupid thing to do. It has to be wizards, by George. But Warog won't listen to me. Warog? What's Warog got to do with it? He's in charge of the investigation, Roxime replied, taking his time about it too, if you ask. But if the king was only poisoned this morning, what does that have to do with it, Roxime said unreasonably. Besides, if Warog doesn't hurry, he won't have the culprit in hand by the time the trials start tomorrow. Trials? You mean with Collinstone to choose the new king? Simrine said with some hesitation. She did not see how it could be a trial for the person who had killed the king if they hadn't caught him yet, but she was not completely certain that the dragons didn't have some way of getting around that problem and trying him anyway. That's it, Roxime said, pleased. Before I leave, I have to find that emerald I picked up 50 years ago, coronation present for the new king. But You haven't got a new king yet, Simrine said, feeling somewhat bewildered. And what if you're the king? Roxine smiled broadly. Knew you were a nice gal. Me, the king? I rather like the idea. I still have to find the emerald, though. Wouldn't do to show up at the trials without a coronation present. Rum thing to do. Overconfident. Though she was upset and more than a little worried, Simrine helped Roxine as best she could. After about an hour of poking through the clutter, Simrine found the emerald wrapped in a gold-embroidered handkerchief and stuffed into the mouth of a large brass horn. Roxine thanked her and invited her to stay to tea, but Simrine politely declined. She was eager to get back to Kazul, to tell her what had happened and decide what to do next. Simrine hurried back to Kazul's cave by the shortest route, thinking so hard about Takaz's death that she forgot about everything else. She found Kazul sleeping and was forced to wake her. Despite her words about the dragon's health, she knew Kazul would want to hear about the king of the dragons as soon as possible. She wanted to hear what Kazul made of Warog's involvement in the investigation. Back already, Kazul said, opening her eyes. Didn't Roxine get you in to see King Takaz? No, Simrine said. She hesitated, uncertain of the best way to break the news. It was too late. Too late? Kazul raised her head, startled. She eyed Simrine briefly and said, All right, let's have it. What happened? King Takaz was poisoned this morning. Roxine said someone put dragon's-bane in his coffee. Kazul snorted. Somebody knew Takaz pretty well. Seeing Simrine's surprised expression, she explained, Takaz drank Turkish coffee every morning. Stuff is strong enough to take the roof off your mouth. Have I had Turkish coffee? No, but I'm going to go find out. I'm going to go find it. I want coffee strong enough to take the roof off my mouth. It's why no one ever went to talk to him over breakfast. You could boil a whole field's worth of dragon's bane in Turkish coffee without changing the taste enough to notice, or the texture. Simrine tried to imagine coffee, even Turkish coffee, strong enough to take the roof off a dragon's mouth, and failed. Oh, I can imagine it, and I want it. I'm fine. I told Roxime about the wizard Eleonora, and I met, and Roxime said I ought to tell you Warog, said I ought to tell Warog because Warog is in charge of finding the poisoner. She said, but when you caught Anterope picking dragon's bane, he thought Warog had sent you, Kazul said. If Warog's mixed up with wizards, she broke off, coughing. Simrine watched her anxiously, but the coughing spasm did not last long. I don't like this, Kazul finished when she got her breath back. I don't either, Simrine agreed, but what can we do about it? Kazul frowned, said nothing. For several minutes, the two sat and thought in silence. Then Kazul said, We can't do anything until the new king has been chosen. Did Roxime say when the testing will be? Tomorrow, Simrine said. Tomorrow? Kazul surged to her feet. Why didn't you say it once? If I'm to be at the Fort of the Whispering Snakes tomorrow, I have to lie down, Simrine commanded. Kazul looked at her in surprise and collapsed in another fit of coughing. Simrine waited until the dragon's coughing had subsided and then said sternly, You are in no condition to go hauling rocks all over the countryside. I'd be surprised if you could fly as far as the end of the pass. I think you're going to have to give up on the trials this time around. Kazul made a choking noise. Simrine looked at her in alarm and then realized the dragon was laughing. It's not optional, Princess, Kazul said. All the adult dragons in the mountains of morning are required to show up no matter what condition they're in. But there is no acceptable excuse for missing the testing of a new king, Kazul repeated. None. And I have a great deal to do before I leave, so if anything needs to be done around here, I'll do it, Simrine said firmly. If you don't rest, you won't be able to fly at all, and then how will you get to the fort? A reasonable point, Kazul said, settling reluctantly back into place. Very well. First thing I need is a coronation present for the new king. There's a jeweled helmet on a shelf in the second storeroom that might do. Bring it out so I can take a look at it. Simrine spent the rest of the evening running errands for Kazul. I like that they just trade treasures that they have that are, relatively speaking, worthless because they have so much treasure. Multiple rooms of treasure. Anyway, besides choosing a coronation gift, Kazul rejected the helmet and 2 crowns before deciding on a scepter made of gold and crystal. Innumerable messages had to be delivered to various dragons who were in charge of arranging the trials. This one had to be informed of Kazul's ill health so that it could be taken into account when the order of the testing was established. That one had to be told that Kazul would not be able to join the coronation procession. Substitutes had to be found to perform Kazul's various ceremonial duties. Then their names had to be approved by a surly dragon in charge of protocol. And there's dragon bureaucracy, everyone. Finally, the substitutions had to be recorded on all the lists of all the dragons who were managing each of the events. It reminded Simrine strongly of Linderwall and her parents' court. By the time the last arrangement had been made and the last message delivered, it was very late, and Simrine was exhausted. She was so very glad she had not let Kazul do all the running around. The dragon, who had slept most of the time Simrine was out, was looking much better, even in the dim light of Simrine's lamp. Tired but satisfied, Simrine went to her room and dropped into bed. Simrine was up early the next morning, stirring a dozen ostrich eggs. They do eat other things. in a large iron kettle for Kazul's breakfast. Kazul ate all of them, then slid out of the cave and prepared to leave for the Fort of Whispering Snakes. Don't fret, Princess, Kazul said. The testing doesn't start until 10. I have plenty of time to get there, even if I stop to rest now and then. Her voice sounded better, or much better than it had been the day before, and it no longer seemed to rasp her throat. While I'm gone, why don't you visit Warog's princess? See if she's noticed anything odd these past few days. We need to know as much as we can before we talk to the new king about Warog and the wizards. All right, Simrine said, as soon as I'm done with the dishes. Gazul turned and leaped up into the air, his wings churning clouds of dust from the dry surface of the ground. Simrine squinted after her and shouted, Good luck! Gazul's wings dipped in answer before the dragon soared out of sight behind the shoulder of the next mountain. Simrine stood looking after Kazul, her forehead wrinkling in worry. After a moment she shook herself and went inside. She had work to do. Washing the dishes did not take long, and as soon as she was done, Simrine set off to visit Alienora. The rundles and passageways were silent and empty. Simrine's footsteps echoed eerily through the darkness. She began to wish she'd taken the longer route along the outside of the mountains. She had not realized that the dragon city would seem so strange and lifeless with all the dragons gone. Psst! Simrine! Simrine jumped. She whirled in the direction of the voice, raising her lamp like a club, and Alienora stepped out of the adjoining tunnel and entered the circle of light. In one hand she clutched a large bucket, 3/4 full of soapy water, and she looked rather pale. Alienora, Simrine said, lowering her arm. What are you doing out here? Shh, Alienora said. She looked nervously over her shoulder. Warog told me to scrub off the table in the banquet room while everyone was away, and I heard someone moving. Oh, it's the stone. Oh my God. Did she leave him there the whole time? I heard someone moving around in there, even though everyone but us is gone, and I dropped my lamp and... Oh, my goodness, Simrine said. The Stone Prince. I'd forgotten all about him. Who? The Stone Prince. Quickly, Simrine explained how she had found and hidden him the day before, and I hadn't thought about it until now, but it's the perfect time to get him out of the mountains, she finished. All the dragons are gone, and no one will see him. Come on, before I forget again. Alienora nodded dubiously, and the two girls headed for the banquet room. When they arrived, Simrine went in first, holding her lamp high. Prince, she called, are you there? It's me, Simrine. Yes, I'm here, said the Stone Prince, unfolding stiffly from a gray lump in the corner. I'm glad you're back. Who is this you brought with you? Princess Alienora of the Duchy of Turon Marsh, Simrine said. She's the princess of the dragon Warog just now. Does her father need a great service done for him? The prince asked hopefully. Not that I know of, Simrine replied. Unless you're getting rid of ants. But that would be, or aunts, I should say, not ants like the insects. But that would be more of a service to Alienora than to her father. I can think of nothing that would make me happier, the prince said with evident admiration as he bowed stiffly to Alienora. Good afternoon, princess. Or should it be good evening? It's hard to tell without windows. Or being left alone for like a day. Alienora blushed and looked down at her bucket without answering. Actually, it's good morning, Simrine told the prince. I'm sorry it took me so long to come back for you, but, well, a lot has been going on. Alienora looked up sharply. You've been sitting here in the dark all night? She shuddered. You could have at least left on my candle, Simrine. Thank you for the thought, Princess Alienora, but it's just as well she didn't, the Stone Prince said. If I'd been sitting here with a lit candle, they'd have noticed me right away. An unlit candle isn't much use in the dark, is it? Well, what do you mean? Simrine said. Who would have noticed you? The dragon and the two men he was talking to, replied the prince. I think they were wizards. What? Said Simrine and Alienora together. Well, they talked as if they were wizards, the prince said. They weren't carrying staffs, though. What did they look like? Simrine said. They were both tall, they both had beards. The older ones was gray and the younger ones was brown. Oh, Atrel and Zembanar, Simrine said. They were talking to a dragon? The Stone Prince nodded. Then they wouldn't have been carrying staffs. Dragons are allergic to them. Did you hear what they said? Something about a contest. The Stone Prince said. The wizards were going to fix it so this dragon would win. Oh, shit, of course. It sounded like, sorry. It sounded like a kind of cross-country race, and the wizards were going to hide along the path and help the dragon out somehow. I'm afraid I'm not very clear about that part. Spells aren't my specialty. I'm much better at hopeless causes. Alienora and Simrine exchanged appalled glances. The trials with Constone to pick the new king, Alienora said. Which dragon? Simrine asked urgently. Do you know which dragon they were talking to? I only heard the name once, the prince said. He sounded apologetic and a little embarrassed. I don't think I got it right. It's too silly. Tell us, Simrine commanded. Well, it sounded like Wart-Hog. The prince said it in an even more apologetic tone than before. Could it have been Warog? Simrine asked. That's it, the prince said. I knew it really couldn't have been Wart-Hog. What a pity you remembered, said a voice from the doorway. Or from the entrance of the banquet hall. Simrine whirled, and Terrell stood in the doorway, staff in hand, watching them with an intolerably smug expression. No, I don't like him. No. You better believe I'm going to read the next chapter right now.